my very first house, before I even moved into the city, there was a creek behind my house that was past a fence that you weren't supposed to go in. It was really weird. Okay, so this system, there was like a forest system.
Irrigation, like?
It's like a creek that ran into like this wooded area, and if the wooded area, you could come out of here. There was a bunch of hippies that fucking sat in the like right at the entrance there. They probably smoked weed and stuff like that at the entrance. Who knows? And then you go further back, and you end up getting to a point where it crosses into a hunting ground. And for some reason, me being a kid and all my friends at the time, we all fucking like, for some reason, kept going back there. Even though we were definitely in a hunting area, there was like a little shack and shit back there. We fucked around back there a lot. It was pretty stupid. But I always, for some reason, I know this isn't true, but like in my little kid mind, I always thought there was alligators back there. Like I thought in the creek there was always a gator, and I never wanted to go back there to the gators. But I know, and like now in my mind, I'm like, never fucking gators back there. But back then, I never went too deep into the woods out there because I was always afraid
that Crocagator
that there were some gators back there that would come out. It was a shallow creek. Like there couldn't have been a gator back there. But I thought there would be a gator that would come. I always thought like maybe what broke the fence was a gator.
The gator was coming out and broke the fence.
And I thought that maybe the gator would fucking come out like at some point. And I shit you not, I had dreams when I was little where I would be back there and I get chased by a gator all the way back through the entrance.
Sounds like how an urban legend is created. Like,
yeah. But every time I would luckily make it out. Every time I would just barely make it out of the fence. So like the gator would never catch me, but the gator was always like, he resided back there in that creek. It was just like, I mean, it could have been a legend. There could have been a gator.
It could have been
there,
a legend.
I don't know.
30-foot long gator.
I also got poison ivy back there one time.
What are we talking about right now?
We're talking about James's childhood, obviously,
yeah,
Alex.
atrocious.
I don't know how we got to
Sounds like
this.
a traumatic topic.
Because I guess when
over
I
here.
said since the last time we
gators,
talked
bees,
about
and
this,
poison
he went
ivy.
all the way back to when he was a kid. So
This
James.
is a week in my life.
Yeah,
it might
yeah.
not be last week, but it was a week in my life. So it still happened.
Amos, about you.
It still happened.
I don't even know how to follow that up. There's no way to
Still
follow
happened.
that up. He has this whole urban legend gator story, and I've got nothing here.
Can you just imagine being little and there's a
I was
little
just
creek
saying
and you think there's a gator chasing you out?
This past week or couple weeks, but I didn't know we were gonna spin back the time clock and go.
You
all the
never
way back.
thought there would be a gator that would chase you or some kind of monster that would chase you?
Yeah, Bigfoot.
That's
Bigfoot
stupid.
chase.
At least
That's
mine
a
was
real
real.
thing.
Yeah, like his is more realistic. Like gators are.
believe-
Gator where?
gator.
Gator where? And you're
In a creek.
In the
In
creek
Pennsylvania.
Behind my house in Pennsylvania. Back behind some fallen trees. But the fence, if you could picture it in your mind, the scene, it looked like something came
It
through
was a
there.
gator-sized hole.
The tree had fell down. We used to always climb the trees and shit like that. But behind the tree, there was a fence that was knocked down. Something knocked that fence over.
Could it have
It
been a
could have
tree?
been a gator.
Could it have been a
Gator.
tree?
I
Gator
think
looking-
there's more of a chance that it was actually Bigfoot than a gator at that point because you're
You might have
talking
had
about
it as a Bigfoot
backwoods
as well.
Pennsylvania.
Hey, you know, someone might have had a pet gator and threw it in the creek, and
I mean, it's
That's
not
how
gonna-
urban
it's
legends
not going to
start.
get that big. I mean, you're
Either
talking
way.
about like the dog and Sandlot here. That's
what if
that's
there
how
was
you're
some nuclear stuff
twisting.
in that? Like,
Hey, that could be.
I'm not
true.
twisted. This is how I thought of it when I was little. So maybe it could have been a baby
and
gator.
Like,
you know?
adult rationality has never looked over that.
I'm
and said,
saying
hey,
now there probably wasn't a gator there, but you never know. I haven't been there in I don't know how long since I
Well,
moved.
now we're gonna have to take a trip out to Pennsylvania and go investigate this gator.
They might have
Like-
fixed it. They might have fixed it. I don't know, but like
could
there
be another gator that comes out. Makes
Yeah.
another hole. You never know. You might have to
Bigfoot
investigate
gators.
it.
Maybe they fixed it.
This
by then.
this matriarch gator could have birthed many other gators. That
It was
have-
also near a park too, so there would be like a little swing set.
yeah,
like,
because
right
he
nearby,
feeds on
so-
children.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
That's
doubt
how he
it.
got
I wouldn't
big.
doubt it at the
That is how
problem.
they got.
That's how he got
That's how
big.
that gator got
Ever
30
any
feet long.
disappearances
See, that's
in
the
your
thing. I
county?
never really saw it being a big gator. It was always like it was like just as big as me. So it was like a well-matched gator. So
Was it
that's
evenly
probably
matched?
why.
So if they ever got into a fight, they would be relatively evenly
Yes,
matched.
we were evenly. That's why I was always able to just barely escape. Is because we were even at the time.
They were
like,
even.
I could outrun him, but he had a nice girth to him, I guess. But like we were both kind of
Well, he has to be able to swallow you, so he had to have the girth.
No, I figured piece by piece. I guess he'd just eat me. You know, I don't know.
Sounds like a scary childhood.